Hello, and welcome to Chapter 12, Marketing, Advertising, and Market Position from the Introduction to Business textbook. In this presentation, or this lecture, we're going to see how effective marketing strategies shape business outcomes and drive profitabilities. One of the things we'll be looking at is the 4 Ps and the marketing environment factors that influence business decisions. It's very important to understand what marketing, advertising, and market position can do for your company and drive competitive advantages. So defining marketing and its importance, right? Marketing facilitates exchanges that satisfy both individual and organizational objectives through strategic planning and execution, right? So it's a process of exchange. One of the effective things that marketing creates is a balance of what it is to have external opportunities and internal business functions to maximize profitability. One of the key major things about marketing is that businesses are looking how to drive profitability. Marketing is essentially important to the business. Without an effective marketing campaign, whether that's for business to consumers or business to businesses or both or however it is, it's very difficult for the business to be successful, right? If nobody knows you, if nobody knows what you're doing, if you don't have some type of effective marketing, it's going to be difficult to build growth. Some marketing decisions must be backed through research and to identify optimal pricing, competitive positioning, and market demand. There's a lot of research that goes on behind the marketing aspects. All of these major corporations, they're doing a bunch of research, or they do research on how to do successful marketing campaigns. Now, it doesn't always work out. There have been times in place where corporations have done marketing that they thought was going to go in the right projection, and it seamlessly backfired on their brand. Corporations or businesses have to remember that their marketing campaigns have to fit what their business does, and of course, who their consumer is. For example, if one day Budweiser decided to start doing their marketing campaigns, including Lamborghinis and Ferraris, it would completely be changed from what they've always done, which was the Klondike horses and the farm areas, the USA, all those things about Budweiser that we recognize as a commercial. The main consumer wouldn't understand why are you putting Ferraris and Lamborghinis in the commercials. It's not fit for what Budweiser is and their market, and of course who they're targeting. So, and of course, marketing has to initiate, to generate sales and revenue, right? So that's what it's trying to do. It's generating sales and revenue when it's marketing campaigns. So the marketing process starts with find opportunities and conduct research. So identify the market gaps and where is the potential opportunities. Identify the target market and design the product. So who's this going to be for? Test the product and determining branding. Setting the price, right? What is the price going to be? How are you going to do this promotion? And building customer relationships. One of the things that businesses do, especially the ones who have significant money to spend, is when they're doing their marketing process to determine if they're going to launch this product nationwide or worldwide, as they usually do beta testing, to see if some consumers would like the certain product, and then of course after that they launch it if it is successful. So we're looking at the 4 P's of marketing. Looking at the first is the product, right? Product differentiation. Identify your product differs from competitors and why those differences matter to consumers. So you have to really know how you're going to differentiate your product from others, what the features and attributions are, and how the product to market fit, right? Develop an understanding of whether your product will sell to the desired consumers and why. If it's not going to sell to the desired consumers, it's going to be pretty pointless. Looking at price, you have to look at, okay, what's the optimal price point? What are your competitors selling at? What are your consumers willing to spend on? What will be your profit margins? So remember your profit margins, like how much does how much does a product cost to make, and of course how much you're willing, how much you're going to make in profit from that as your outcomes after you spend on all of the marketing and all of what the product costs to make, and of course what's the market demand. Place, right? It's all about location, how you're going to distribute it, and the audience reach, and of course the location. If it's a physical product, it's location, right? Where are you going to place this, and how are consumers going to be able to get it? Do you have enough product in place to making sure that you meet the demand? Nothing frustrates a consumer more than being on the wait list or having to wait a long period of time for their product. So making sure that you have enough product on hand to sell, and that if there is a wait list or people have to wait, that you're able to quickly be able to replenish that product. So promotion is the other P of marketing, right? Advertising, how do you advertise? Are you going to advertise in newspapers, magazines, radio, television, internet, and social media, billboards and flyers? But when you do advertising, you have to understand, where are your consumers? If your consumers are mostly on social media, then that's where you should target at. If your consumers are in newspapers or magazines, then where you should go. Or radio or television. If you ever happen to listen to the radio, just regular radio, AM radio or FM radio, specifically AM radio, listen to their advertising, right? Typically in AM radio, you listen to advertising on life insurance, medical type commercials, financial, right, real estate, right? Because the people who typically listen to AM radio are much more older individuals who have those kind of issues or have those kind of things and needs, compared to when you're on social media. It's really geared towards the younger crowd. Personal selling, right? How are you going to do this selling? Are you going to go to trade shows, client meetings, product demonstrations, sales presentations? Public relations, right? Community engagement, press releases, or sales promotions, right? Are you going to do discounts? Are you going to do sweepstakes or special events? When you do sales promotion, that's why it's very important that when you do this, you have to recognize. That's why you have to sell your pricing has to be 30 to 40% higher than, of course, what your product costs to make, because you have to still take into consideration you might do some sales promotions. So, for example, if your product costs $9 to make, and you're only selling it for $15, and you're only going to make about $6, if even, on the profit margin on that, and that's not including promotions. What if you decide to do a promotion 50% off? Now you're cutting into your profit margin significantly. You can't really even do a 50% promotion because you basically lose all of your profit margin. So you have to think about that. If you're going to do a promotion, you have to be careful as to how much you're going to sell it for. The marketing environment, you have to understand what are all the economic factors going on. Global factors, if there's an international trade war, that can impact how the product you get. Sociological factors, economic factors, right? If there's high unemployment rates, people are probably not going to be big time consumers. Disposable income levels, if people's disposable income levels are pretty low, it's going to be very difficult for you to sell a very high ticket price item if it doesn't have to do anything with health or eating, right? For example, if you're being sold a $6,000 health package program to make you fit, and your discretionary funds are very low, you're probably going to rethink about, do I really need a $6,000 health workout package to purchase at the moment when my discretionary funds are slowly dwindling because there's a recession or I'm unemployed. So you really would have to think about that. Market segmentation and targeting, right? Segment your market by demographics, geography, psychographics, behavior. Identify your niche. Who's your target niche? Maximize your return on investment. Greater impact than with limited resources. Pricing strategies, again, when you do pricing is a science. It's a very difficult process because you don't want to compete on price. You never want to compete on price because you'll lose. But then again, you don't want to price it too low to the point where you won't make a profit margin, but you don't want to market it too high where consumers are going to want to not spend. So, that's why companies, there's an art, there's a science to it. There's always promotional pricing, right? How many times have you seen half off sales because they want to clear their inventory? One of the things that companies do, stores do, is they need to clear the inventory, so we'll make a sale. Or quantity discounts. Membership pricing, right? If you're part of a member, right, that really fits into fitness centers and theme parks. Membership pricing, of course, it creates perception of value to consumers, to the customers. Again, what is the industry standards and competition, right? It ensure that the pricing supports your financial projections. You don't want to price something that's really low. That's not going to help you make money. Create an effective promotional program. Again, you have to have a really effective promotional program. You really have to put some thought into it. How are you going to do it? Whether it's a grand opening, whether you're penetrating the market or maintaining your market, you really have to depend on how you're going to do your promotional program. Targeted advertising approaches. Are you doing direct consumer communication? So you directly are reaching out to the targeted consumer? Are you reaching your customers through specialized media? Again, or demographic targeted media. So you're going directly to where your customer profile fits. Like, for example, if you're targeting young people, you may look at social media channels like TikTok or Instagram, or just doing general advertising. You're just grabbing a whole reach with a less target position, right? You're just targeting all these individuals, right? You go to a sporting event and you're just advertising out there to see who falls within that, right? Small businesses have to maximize their limited advertising budgets by communicating directly to the target market, rather than general advertising. General advertising is usually towards large corporations who have that type of money to spend. If you're a small business with a very limited advertising budget, then direct customer communication is heavily important. Restaurant marketing program example, right? One of the things I like, one of the examples that one of my entrepreneurship professors would say about restaurants, and it kind of goes with this example, is there was an individual who, who's opening up a restaurant, and they spent all their money on getting the restaurant ready to go, right? And so they really had no money left over for marketing, right? They couldn't do all these promotions. They couldn't advertise on the radio. All their marketing money was basically spent on getting the restaurant ready. So what the business owner did is something pretty clever. Was the business owner invited all of the stylists in the community. Because as we know, one thing, hairstylists talk all day. And so, if hairstylists like something, they're going to tell its customers. So he invited all of the hairstylists around the community to come eat at this restaurant. And the service was fantastic. The food was great. And the hairstylists just, told everybody, all their customers, about their amazing food at this particular restaurant to get the word out. And so that was one way to advertise, to get the word out. Again, one of the things that when you want to think about your marketing plan is who is your target market, again, who they are, what is your value proposition, what are you solving for them, what pain point are you solving for them. Detail your product and services. You really have to make it specific. Establish a distribution channel. So how are you going to deliver the product to customers? Do you have a storefront? Do people come into the store? Do you have a website? Do you have a website that people go and shop online and they're going to get delivered to them? Or what other type of distribution channels are you going to have? You can have a website online and digitally download things, if that's your thing. And again, set your pricing strategy. again, what strategy are you going to do? How much revenue are you going to allocate to your marketing budget? What's your timeline for it? And so those are the things you have to think about when you are doing a marketing campaign. Timeline, your return on your investment, right? You don't want to host a marketing campaign where you're not going to have any return on investment. What's the point of spending $5,000 with very little return on investment? So that, of course, is what we have for marketing, for how you're going to do things. So for your marketing campaign, so remember, when it comes to marketing, advertising, you have to recognize who your consumers are. If you do direct to consumer, you have to understand who they are, what they like, and what is your pricing strategy for it. If you're going to offer a promotion, make sure it doesn't eat up into your profit margin. Make sure you price your thing correctly, that you can run promotions. So, and that is it for this chapter 12 from the Introduction to Business textbook. Thank you.